Hello there. Having 10 episodes behind us, before we move forward onto the next one, here's the recap of where it started and how it's gone so far for our Tarkon Strike Team Burbs. The team sergeant is Raven, a tactical leader with a passion for birds, although at times pessimistic about the squad's chances. Sparky is the engineer, a genius and optimist with a pet collection. Simon is the specialist, a heavy hitter with their machine gun, and the stable, cautious voice of reason. And the legionnaire is Jonas, Black Ops and often the member most inclined to push their luck or urge the squad to. Episode 1. Tarkon Strategic Command has discovered a new stable portal from Tradera to a jungle world infested with savage snake people. In their first mission, the team was sent through to seize whatever raw resources they can from this new frontier and establish if it was worth the investment in establishing a Tarkon presence there. Getting their gear together and assembling in camp, the team stepped through to the Valley of the Serpent Kings. Once in the humid swamps, surrounded by the calls of the local wildlife, the team immediately came upon an altar erected by the primitive natives. They elected to leave it alone and press on, but not before a tripwire was activated that filled the air with poison darts. The majority of the team were well trained enough to hear the whistles and dodge them, save Jonas, who was struck, but fortunately immune to the poison. Progress through the jungle saw them move into an area free from the canopy as they entered a murky clearing. They noted that the edges of the clearing were festooned with markers and sigils indicating they had left the territory of a previous barbarian tribe and crossing the boundary into another. They were not to understand the significance of the markings, but they were entering diamond scale territory. Nor had their presence gone unnoticed, as a scouting party of 6 Serpentmen warriors came rustling out the undergrowth to intercept their entry. Raven only just had enough time to call out which of them the squad should focus on before the snakes were on top of them, beating at them with their macahootl. Raven and Sparky managed to duck and weave to avoid their blows, but Simon and Jonas both took severe beatings before the team could return fire. When they did, the pistols of Sparky and Raven each took a native down. Everyone was then embroiled in taking some minor buffets, as Sparky and Raven once again picked off 1 serpent each before Simon gunned the remaining 2 down with a machine gun and the jungle returned to silence. As the fauna got over the sound of gunfire and came back to its own cacophony, the team looted the fallen tribals of a strange healing salve and an intact blade fused with darkstone, as well as their first darkstone pieces from this primordial world and some pilfered gold. Tending their own wounds with their first aid, they pressed on, acutely aware that the jungle was full of eyes watching and charting their progress. Across another clearing, and they entered an area sacred to the natives, which would have offered ample opportunity to pick up relics, except Jonas, as the lead, had to report that it was also completely saturated with poisonous bog gas, so no way round would need to be found. Heading down another trail into sweeter smelling environs, they entered the ruined courtyard of a temple. Sadly, age had taken its toll, and some of the masonry was unstable, collapsing and catching Simon with the heavy debris. On the positive side, the area contained a small amount of darkstone that could be harvested. The team was now at odds as to whether to progress or not, but in the end, with an even split, they left it to chance, and chance dictated that they carry on. The ground underfoot became damp and slowly sunk into a swamp. Forging forwards was now accomplished by the backdrop of splashing water. The water, however, hid dangerous flora, and creeper vines attempted to latch hold of the team and drown them. The team were too well trained to be taken advantage of, and Raven even pulled something useful out of the unsettling corpse of a previous meal. With a strange sense of premonition, they had found a wanted poster issued by law enforcement for bounties on Traderans like themselves. Perhaps another faction was active in this world, or just a hapless traveller from another. Advancing, they came back to firmer ground and a patch of jungle looping back on themselves, but this one contained a deep dark spiderweb-filled hole, as well as significant darkstone deposits. The nearby predators had been alerted to their presence, and a young raptor, wild croxin, and 4 hellbats all burst out of the undergrowth to assault them. Above them, a large winged beast flew overhead, and they became aware this area was under the Serpent King's decree of dominion. Their presence might bring more savages to the fight. The team had to first deal with the creature's ambush. On to episode 2. Just as they were preparing for the ambush, another 8 hellbats burst through the trees. Every member of the team was now surrounded by 3 hellbats, and Raven also had the raptor right on top of them. Fortunately, the croxin beast was slower and had only just lumbering out of the undergrowth, heading for Simon in the distance. The hellbats barely touched Sparky and Raven, but nearly knocked Simon out, as well as scoring a deep wound on Jonas amidst all their shrieking. The raptor tried to claw and bite at Raven, but once again they managed to nimbly defend themselves from any harm. Sparky broke off from her bats to hide next to the rubble of the courtyard and picked off one of the hellbats with her pistol. The croxin pushes Jonas aside in its attempt to get to Simon, but doesn't manage to make it to them. trying to control their fear of the giant lizard towering over them, Raven managed to keep their cool and gun down the 3 Hellbats that were also tormenting them. Simon takes care of 2 Hellbats and Jonas 1, meaning half the Hellbats are dealt with. As the fight continues, Raven continues to tell the team to be wary of the Raptor pointing out its attacks, but the Hellbats manage to score some light cuts on Sparky and Jonas. The Raptor finally managed to pin Raven down and rakes them, but doesn't take them out. Sparky rushes over to Simon's side to try and bandage them up before the crocodile-like lizard engages them. The Croxin, however, reaches Simon and with a single swipe puts them on the ground unconscious despite the first aid. As they fight and Simon is downed, Strategic Command learns the potential law enforcement problem the team has and lets them know they need to finish this mission successfully or face repercussions back at camp with their own law and military command. Raven disengages from the Raptor to let loose a hail of bullets that kills the 2 Hellbats attacking Jonas, a 3rd Hellbat near the Raptor, and put 2 bullets in the back of the Croxin. Jonas resorts to whiskey to deal with the terrors of the Raptor and the Croxin, then takes out a Hellbat and puts a bullet in the Croxin. Things are starting to look bad for the team though, when they catch a break and Sparky finds a stream from the Fountain of Life, which rejuvenates the team, and Simon staggers to his feet, nursing their slashed leg. The team dig deep and rely on the Special Forces training, in addition the fact that they are Tarkon terror troops, for a big push in the next few moments. The last remaining Hellbat is not bothering Jonas too much, and the Raptor chases Raven down. Although the claws miss, the jaws manage to land a fearsome bite on them, just as they were bandaging up their earlier scars. But they're still in the fight. The team also enacts their firing squad practice, which Sparky uses to send the final 3 bullets at the Croxin beast to kill it. Raven finishes off the last Hellbat before putting so much lead into the Raptor it loses half its vitality in the volley and promptly tries to swing at them in anger, but misses. Jonas throws his grenade to stun it before Simon brings it down in a hail of fire from the machine gun and the jungle falls quiet again. Raven's efforts offer them new insight and they channel their aggression into striking first and striking hard in the future. Plenty of gold, darkstone and other valuables are recovered, along with a darkstone axe and club and a hanging cross from a foreigner religion. The team harvests the copious darkstone here and concludes the mission as a success, as they are in no fit state to push on. They return to the Daron base camp, limping from their severe wounds, and replace the sounds of the jungle with the continual artillery of their home. Back at camp, the surgeons treat Simon's leg, the team contributes their darkstone to building a war depot and resupply ready for the next mission. Raven, however, has come to the conclusion this is the perfect time to engage in some bird spotting, and is not available to a team, their place taken by a trench soldier, Private Floofees. Episode 3. Their next mission from Strategic Command sees them head straight back through the portal to secure a foothold in the area now it is assessed as worthy of exploitation. They just need to keep the serpent men at bay. Within the jungle, they first navigate twisting branching paths through the close-in trees, whilst the dread that awaits them builds, before once again finding a primitive altar that they leave well alone. No darts this time, but a verdant spring babbles past the altar that the team refresh themselves at. Heading past, they turn through the foliage to find a burial ground of the natives, in which Simon finds a discarded sacrificial knife. A sharp chill now permeates the air, as if looting has offended the dead, and should they come to take it back, they will do so empowered. Fortunately, even though we loot the burial ground of valuables, no threats arrive to gain vengeance. There are, however, a collection of strange sticky eggs. The team decide to smash them to avoid whatever may hatch. Sadly, the eggs Jonas smashes are nearly mature, and in doing so, something wriggly burrows into their skin as it breaks free. The team also makes the decision that this is the best place to establish their new forward base. Immediately leaving the burial grounds are further winding paths and not only large staging areas for enemy attacks. If the entrances can be barricaded, then only a limited number of foes can make their way towards to attack the team. So they set to in making sandbag fortifications. As they start to do so, however, a strange pulse emanates from their darkstone, threatening to twist their bodies and mind. Simon and Sparky shrug it off, but Jonas has now contracted the Void Plague, making it dangerous to be too close to them as they give off painful emanations. As they hastily erect their stockades, the darkness tries to shake their resolve again, sending painful spikes through them as they dig. Floofees had tried to prevent this fate for the team, but simply erupted tentacle arms due to the corruption inflicted by the strain. As a consequence, they have not quite finished before another beast crashes into their position. Another wild Croxin, and this one a mutated one fueled by Darkstone. Quickest to respond as ever, Sparky managed to put a shot in it before it charges into the burial grounds to get at Floofees. Jonas gets pushed out of the way, and the Croxin takes a swipe at Sparky. As it passes, but misses them. Swinging round, Jonas shoots and hits the passing beast 3 times. Floofy's manage to grasp it and tear their new tentacles twice, before Simon opens fire and tears huge chunks out of the beast until it collapses. Without a horde of other creatures to assist, these Croxian beasts are not so tough. Simon elects to channel their increasing skills into better operating as part of a fire team. The team quickly salvages some Darkstone and a native Tito skull from the carcass before finishing the last barricade and calling the mission a success. This time, their return to camp is more assured, as the team returns relatively unscathed. At camp, Simon buys a tomb chest for their Darkstone, Sparky installs an inlay in their light gun, and Jonas forges Darkstone mesh into their coat. The team resupply, but the darkness has been encroaching and catches up with the camp, forcing them to move on. Episode 4. Strategic Command have given them instructions to ensure their foothold remains free of primitive interference, and that means deploying the latest gas warfare device in the vicinity to ward off the attacks of natives. The team take the new gas dispersal equipment and head back through to the burial grounds. However, they barely have time to catch their breath when a giant serpent man, twice the size of those they saw before, erupts out the undergrowth in an ambush, as arrows sleep through the glade. Most of the team dodge the arrows, and this is enough for Sparky to receive greater insight and recommit themselves to the nationalism of Tarkon. Poor Private Floofy's is instantly killed, however, as the temple guard from the Bloodbane tribe turns them into paste with a crushing blow from their hammer. The team disperse to take it down. Sparky, however, is distraught at the passing of Floofy's and misses. Jonas, however, is accurate with their shatter grenade to stun the Serpent Man, and Simon follows up with a machine gun to take it down. Mourning Floofy's, the team recovers some berry juice from the temple guard before heading off to try and find good places for the generators. Sparky only finds more and more twisting paths through the jungle. Whilst back at the foothold, the Serpent Men redouble their efforts by deploying a Venom Strike ballista. As Jonas and Simon try to take down the ballista, Sparky stumbles into more creeper vines, but still cannot find anywhere to deploy the gas generators. And then things take a turn for the worse back at the foothold. The ballista is still firing, but not hitting, when a young raptor emerges from the other exit. Simon and Jonas back away from the raptor whilst pouring shot after shot into the ballista crew, eventually taking them down before they can land a shot. But more importantly, before the raptor catches up to Simon. Sparky, meanwhile, heads into the deep swamp. Splashing through the water, they finally find a decent location for a gas generator, but it is being guarded by a Serpentman shaman. Jonas and Simon are now locked in combat with the raptor, and Jonas tries to trap it on the other side of the sandbags in a defensible position. This works, but they are taking too long, and Simon has to head off to the other exit and deal with a squad of Durran raiders from the Union come to interfere with Tarkon operations. Sparky is having to deal with thunderstorms, ghostly snakes and hex bolts, but is gradually wearing the shaman down one shot at a time. Jonas has worn the raptor down, Simon has killed half the raiders, when suddenly it gets even worse for the team. A flanking force of Serpentmen warriors traps Jonas between them and the raptor. Despite a spirited defence and rising to his feet to take 2 of them down, he is clubbed into the ground. At which point the team admit defeat and pull back from the enraged raptor, Serpentmen forces and the raiders from the Union. The psychological damage from giving up the position they worked so hard for causes Simon and Sparky to become open to the void and its whisperings, whilst Jonas develops a deep paranoia that his team left him to die, on top of the gaping chest wound the Macahootles delivered. A learning experience, however, as Jonas is now joining Simon as part of a trained firing team. Back at camp, disaster strikes. A hostile force has severed their communication links to wider Tarkon, and worst, just the team make it back, a void borer erupts under the camp, causing everyone to scatter. The team have no opportunity to rest or recuperate or resupply before being hurled back into the next mission through the gate to work out who has disrupted their communications. It cannot have been the savages, perhaps it was those Union raiders. Episode 5. Back in Jagano, the dread immediately began to build as they pushed through another dripping passage in the jungle, coming to a murky clearing. The other side of the clearing held a shimmering blue portal that must have been where their opponents came from. Between them and the portal, though, the approach was littered with flute-like tubes poking out of the loose earth, with an odd musty smell in the air. Keen to avoid whatever lay beneath the ground, the team creeped carefully around them. Jonas reached the portal first and hurled themselves through. On the other side was a completely different environment, of steel and artificially recirculated air. Whoever came from these corroded and decrepit corridors was obviously of a technology level high enough to ruin their communications. The team, however, was now aware there was no way out for their team. Retreat was not an option, it was succeed or die. The first room they had encountered was some kind of transportation hub. It looked like the denizens of this place could teleport between locations. The team didn't have much time to adjust, however, as the room was quickly filled by flying pterosaur-like beings, armed with laser rifles. Most of the 6 flew out past Jonas into Giuliano and the rest of the team, but the 2 that remained managed to score some minor hits on them. Simon managed to dodge the shots aimed at them, but Sparky took some non-trivial damage. The team then bundled into the other world and tried to kill the 2 in the transporter room, but only Sparky was able to land a shot, and he didn't kill. The Centaurus Ravagers then flew back into a teleporter room, missed their shots, then retreated back into Giuliano. The team followed them back to the swamp. Now they were bunched up, not only did Sparky clip another one with their light pistol, but Jonas hurled a shatter grenade, stunning most of them and putting many at the brink of death. Simon stepped back through and was able to mow down every single Ravager remaining with the machine gun. Heading back through the portal, they pressed on in the industrial environment, finding just beyond the portal room some kind of living quarters, but beings clearly not the same as the Ravager they had just killed. Looks like they were also interlopers. The entrance to the quarters revealed how badly in a state of collapse the facility was, as every member of the team lively jumped over a collapsed gantry that revealed a chasm many floors of the complex below them. Stashed away in the quarters, Simon finds a fallen gunfighter's pistol, strangely archaic for the beings who must have lived here, an heirloom maybe. They pass it to Sparky so they can have a gun in each hand. Episode 6. Proceeding down a corridor out of the habitat area, Sparky finds a telescope on the floor, before the corner is turned. A humming sound up ahead is revealed to be a drive room. The shimmering orb in the centre, with its arcs of lightning, prevents access to the middle of the room and causes the very fabric of reality to distort. But directly across from the entrance can just be seen some broken grates that are immediately disgorging tentacled dark stranglers to assault the party. The initial wave is just 2, that slightly grey Sparky but seriously wound Jonas. Sparky escapes their clutches with ease due to the stealth hood and runs to try and slam the grates shut, whilst Jonas managed to take down each of the stranglers with a single shot. Simon staggers into the room, but the weird time-space dislocations confuse them and they don't make it to the grates. There is just the barest moment's peace before a metallic scraping sound heralds another strangler launching itself out of Simon out of the grates, gouging them for a minor wound. Jonas once again takes it down, and Simon joins Sparky in trying to close or block the grates. Whilst they manage it, and Jonas grabs a discarded boarding rifle from the mess, unfortunately it's all taken far too long and the darkness has nearly escaped. The team make a tactical decision to retreat without finding their new enemies, rather than risk becoming overcome by the darkness. As they pull out of sheer quantity of darkstone Sparky is carrying, causes them to mutate and grow prodigious fangs. Back at camp, a grizzled Tarkon veteran takes issue with Sparky and their recent failures, and a gunfight on the edge of camp ensues. The veteran barely had time to draw their guns before Sparky, using both the light pistol and the fallen gunfighter's pistol, takes them down in a single fusillade of bullets. The team then all head to the war depot to relieve themselves of their excess darkstone, right before raiders from the Union launch an attack on the camp to steal it. Sparky then tries to remove their psychological madness, but instead descends even further. They are, however, able to provide the correct resources to bring the mutated private floofies back from whatever hell they had been sent. Jonas is more successful with their medical intervention and removes the void plague via careful application of restorative medication. Simon does not succeed in their treatment for being open to the void either, but does pick up plenty of bandages for the fight ahead. With that, the team is prepared for their next mission. Episode 7. This time the team heads directly back to the derelict ship, with instructions from local command to do as much damage as possible to the ability of their antagonists to stage attacks on them. They are to poison the area and establish minefields to prevent their ease of access to Tadera, whilst ensuring they have fully searched and cleared every room on the way. Their first probe forward on arrival reveals another of the mysterious teleporter rooms, this one occupied by a pair of hulking metal exosuited aliens intent on taking the ship apart. They immediately turn and attack the arriving team. The integral demolition tools of the harvesters throws the team around the room and causes repeated collapses of steelwork that buffets the Traderans but doesn't scratch the suits. Everyone in the team is suffering from cuts and abrasions, and Floofy nearly doesn't make it past a rotating drill to the torso. Leaning into their Tower Troop training though, the team returns fire trying to pinpoint the weak spots in the imposing armour. Sparky and Floofy combine to take the first down, and then Jonas and Simon put enough bullets in the last for it to die as well. Simon manages to extricate a looking glass from the collected salvage on the behemoths, whilst Jonas is able to peel off the still functional thermal gloves one of them had and wear them themselves. Passing through the transporter room, Sparky notices some odd iconography that turns out to be a mark of the damned, an eldritch sigil that can be applied to hasten the demise of demons. They pocket it for later use. Moving on, they enter some kind of local security hub and alarms immediately sound. Sparky quickly analyses the situation and correctly infers how to manipulate the control deck to turn off the alarm and flashing lights before automated defences are activated. This leaves the team free under less stressful situations to investigate the room, whereupon they discover there is another transportation pad in this room, and this one is active. Once again, Sparky tries to decipher the controls, but this time it is beyond them, so the pad is not activated. The team also notices the blood trail in the room is leading to what looks like the final escape pod that was not launched. Once again, it's Sparky that leads the way and investigates the figure seated within. It turns out to be the long-dead crew member who is still clutching the mission log of the vessel. Sadly, this doesn't help the team much at this point, as they can't read the language, so it's not telling them who their attackers are or what the purpose of the vessel was. The next facility they enter appears to be a long-neglected hydroponic bay, which now has become overgrown with its leafy contents. Amongst the out-of-control vegetation, though, can be seen arcing cables. Clearly this part of the ship still has power, and something has cut through some of those cables. It is trivial for Jonas to step through and throw the switch to turn off local power for the rest of the team's safety, as those new gloves are sufficiently insulated to prevent any injury from the electrical discharges. Then, from up ahead of the hydroponic bays, the savage cry of beast can be heard. It definitely sounds dangerous should they meet it. Episode 8. Leaving the bay behind them, the single exit leads them into a navigational control area with swirling maps of the galaxy, making it apparent to the team for the first time that they are on board a spacefaring vessel rather than some underground facility somewhere. Sparky notices a strange device on the floor in the doorway, which upon investigation is revealed to be a transdimensional warp jump, or basically a free ride home at some point should they ever get in trouble. Though they have no idea how it works, so it's entirely possible it could also throw them into the void or who knows what other world. Before they can really investigate it though, their attention is drawn down the stairs, leading to the main holographic chart, and to the other side of the room, where another set of strangler demons has congregated. Unlike those before though, which were dark stranglers and seemed native to the vessel, these were a different coloration and seem uncomfortable with their surroundings, indicating these 6 demons have been summoned rather than indigenous. In the front, Sparky has time to react before they are seen, diving to the side and adopting a firing position from above on the gantries down into the floor of the room. With this height advantage, they are able to take down the lead strangler, though at the cost of the fallen gunfighter's pistol draining their life force. Alerted to their presence, the stranglers charge across the room and are funneled together up the stairs and into melee with the strike team. Jonas and Floofy's are attacked and avoid most of the flailing of the tentacles and bites of the Moors, but both do to succumb to some minor injuries in the tussle. Floofy's tries to shoot and misses, whilst Jonas manages to kill one and wound another. Simon then lets rip the machine gun, and when the burst is finished, only a single strangler at the foot of the stairs remains standing. During this lull, and the ensuing momentary quiet, the team can hear from up above disconcerting chittering, and that causes unease. This derelict vessel is full of horrors, and not just the technological kind. Sparky leans over the rail and puts 2 bullets in the last strangler to finish it off. Heading down into the chamber, the team sees the full vista from the holographic display, showing the cosmos in all its glory, and each of them takes this as a reaffirmation of the inevitability of Tarkon conquest, of not just Tradera, but the entirety of creation, raising their spirits. Clearly Traderans are immune to the existential dread of being just an irrelevant fleeting moment on the history of the universe. Buoyed up by this, Simon notices a discarded axe and adds it to their arsenal. Perhaps it was a form of firefighting equipment. Not that the navigational area shows any sign of fire. Immediately outside the navigation centre, the corridor branches left and right, and they're deciding which way to head. A gunfight breaks out to the left, and bullets hurtle through the corridor, causing the team to dodge them or be notched up as collateral damage. Jonas doesn't manage it and takes serious wounds and is now bleeding from 2 gunshots. The team wisely decides to head right instead. This leads them into another hydroponics area, but still no sighting of whatever beasts make the vessel their home. Jonas finds a strange handheld device in the corridor as they enter and is unable to fathom how it works, but passing it to Sparky, they work out it is some kind of medical diagnostic equipment. They keep hold of it for future use should anyone sustain serious injuries again. Sparky makes the decision that the soil and undergrowth in this bay make it a perfect location for a minefield, and quickly deploys them from their bag. Having fully searched and cleared all the rooms up to this point, this remains the last stage of the mission. With it now complete, the team determines the mission as a success and heads back to Tradera. At camp, the team sells some of their spare equipment, and then after much deliberation, puts the money towards upgrading their field hospital. Once again, Sparky seeks treatment for their mental distress, and once again it only managed to make it worse, chipping away at their mental resolve. Similarly, Simon's treatment is in vain, and both of them remain open to the void. Sparky cleans up at playing Glory Dice, and uses the Darkstone gained to transcribe the Mark of the Damned onto their V-Wave scanner, hopefully allowing them to detect weaknesses in any demons they meet. After this though, a toxic storm rolls in. Simon and Sparky elect to head out, but Jonas braves one more day of the lashing acid rain and choking fog to head to the expedition supplies and put their resources into building a command post. The darkness then advances in the aftermath of the storm, and the camp is forced to move on, as the team head into their next mission. Episode 9. Once again, the team heads through a portal and arrives on a derelict ship. Still trying to undertake reconnaissance as to who it is that attacked them, they find themselves in a reverse situation. Too far into the vessel, they realise it is them that is being cut off from their retreat. What ensues is a desperate attempt by the team to return to their base before the enemy completes the encirclement. Trying to push forward from their position in the habitat ring, the V-Wave scanner throws up erroneous readings and sends them into a corridor, before the team backtracks and finds yet another transporter room. On entering the room, the team can feel the creatures of the void grow stronger, and worse, the room has been converted into some kind of workshop where a sick mind has been conducting experiments on organs and bodies. Ignoring the horrors on the tables, the team strides through into a hydroponics bay that again has been converted by a sinister intelligence. This room has a series of patchwork-limbed bodies suspended from hooks and the smell of an abattoir. With the other exit blocked by a sealed bulkhead, the team decide not to brush against the hanging drones and return to the habitat ring. Simon notices a discarded energy blaster on their way out and adds it to their arsenal. Although Taderans are used to gunpowder weapons, pointing and pulling the trigger does the job. On their way back through the teleporter room, however, they can feel the void once again become emboldened, and they finally meet the architects of their misfortune back on Tradera. The Crimson Hand are operating out of the derelict ship and have flanked the team with a pair of dark acolytes. Their first spell, some form of arcane bolt, goes wide, but the second acolyte enacts a cursed pact, and both then tear into the team. Floofy is the recipient of one of their ire, and it takes everything the team can muster to keep them in cover and under bandages and still standing. The other goes for Simon, who managed to get out the way of their blade. Sparky wings one with their light pistol, then Simon opens up with a light machine gun to kill them both. Simon acquires a strange grenade that appears to warp time from their corpses, whilst Jonas makes off with a fortune in gold bars. Quickly hurrying back through the habitat ring, one of the other doorways leads Jonas into another security station. Once again, Sparky dives in and manages to turn off the immediate alarm, but in doing so this time sets up a fail-safe alarm and a different set of lights and klaxons go off. Sparky manages to shut them off too, thinking they've avoided drawing enemy attention. A few moments later, although the Hand did not seem to notice, skittering alien xenocyte impalers launch themselves at the team. As Jonas had quite a lead on the rest of the team and the xenocytes were running in from a distance, they couldn't reach most of the team. Jonas takes a puncture wound from one of their spiky legs before the team can retaliate. Sparky almost kills them with a bullet from each gun before Floofy not only finishes that one off, but takes down the following one as well. Simon unlimbers the machine gun and takes their last down in a hail of bullets, leaving dripping alien ichor all over the walls. Once past the security area, the team enters a room with a large door out to the void and some kind of environment suit lining the walls. Sadly, the huge bay door is not sealing properly, and everyone starts to be sucked into the blackness of space outside. Jonas and Simon quickly manage to get to the exosuits to prevent exposure. Sparky, sadly, however, is drawn towards the floor and out the door before it shuts. However, in doing so, they lost their grip on their telescope. But at least the team managed to get the door closed before they lost Sparky. Picking herself up, she's immediately targeted by a laser beam attached to a device that has clearly been a recent addition to the ship and is of foreign design to the rest. The laser traces out some kind of marker and burns it into her flesh. Unsure what this may mean in the future, the wave of nausea from the corrupting influence triggers a further mutation. In this case, Sparky starts to grow a second head. With the external door closed, the security area the lagging members of the team are in no longer has a vacuum to funnel its air out, and it starts to fill with a choking mist from a ruptured pipe. Nobody knows what the gas being leaked is, and it smells awful, but is clearly poisonous, so the team hurry through as fast as possible. Sparky checks out one of the exits of the exosuit bay and finds it is spurred off into a junction of a corridor. whilst Jonas checks out the other exit and finds the ship's bridge. Inside there's a vacant scene of neglect. Whoever was in here when whatever befell the vessel left in a hurry. There is, however, a single blinking red light on a console. Sparky rushes over and presses the flashing button, only to be informed that automated defences have now been activated. Before they can kill themselves on the arcing cables still live and discharging electricity, Jonas once again uses their gloves to safely remove local power. This does not, however, stop the small teleportation pad next to the captain's chair from functioning, but without knowing where it leads to, the team decide not to mess with it. Back out and across the exosuit bay, the team enters the corridor. The long desiccated remains of a former explorer let Sparky pick up a rusty badge of a law enforcer, and Simon finds a package of purifying exotic herbs. Taking a left, they enter another habitation ring. This one, however, is being used as residence for 12 Crimson Hand cultists, who are not too happy to see the heroes. They have acquired the science log of the vessel for who knows what sinister purpose, and they're not about to let the heroes have it. Reaching for their rifles, a firefight in the ship ensues. Episode 10. The strike team adopts firing team positions, and Sparky gets the first shots off, bringing one of the cultists down before they can even draw their rifle. Floofy's doesn't manage to hit, and in their return fire, the cultists pile way more shots into the private than they can handle. These cultists have been trained especially with their rifles to fire so quickly. Jonas is shot twice and is incapable of taking that punishment again, and Simon just takes the one shot. The cultists then rush into melee with the team, swinging their rifles as clubs. Only Sparky fails to get out of the way, and takes a few blows but is still standing, and they take a moment to apply their first aid. Jonas only manages to make a single shot land, and even with them being injured from walking through a minefield, the cultist still doesn't go down. Seeing how key it is to end this quickly, Simon drinks the bitter-tasting berry juice to make every shot count, and then proceeds to lay down a withering hail of bullets that takes out another 3 of the cultists. Jostling position, the two sides exchange another bout of gunfire, with Sparky putting a bullet from both guns in one, who somehow staggers but remains in the fight. Simon takes another bullet from a rifle and responds by using all 3 sets of bandages, prompting Jonas to use theirs before they also get shot twice again and are only just hanging in. Sparky also takes a shot before the cultist starts swinging in melee again. Things are looking bad for Jonas as they get beaten down to almost unconsciousness, only thanks to the healing abilities of their Darkstone mesh gently resuscitating before this fight, and as it carries on, are they still upright. Sparky dodges all the cultists this time, but Simon takes a butt to the face and is also looking on the ropes. Jonas reels back from his blows, gains some space, and with the clarity of sight, to pull the pin from a shatter grenade and throw it squarely in the middle of the pack of cultists. With a reverberating crack in the close confines of the ship, it explodes into fragments and stuns most of the remaining cultists, and adds some further lacerations to them. Simon's machine gun picks off the wounded cultists, once again racking up 3 kills and leaving them less than half their original number now. Sparky tumbles into the room, now numbers have thinned, and sets up a crossfire to kill one and wound another. Seeing them stagger, they then sink their fangs into them and finish them off. Sadly, the remaining cultists get a shot up at Jonas, who goes down, but fortunately for the team, their faith in the superiority of Tarkon and the strike team revives them once again, but probably not going to work more than once. The other rifle shots miss, and once again the close combat brawling starts. Only Jonas gets hit, taking a severe wound, but carries on standing thanks to their recent rejuvenation. Simon lets rip with the machine gun once more, but their aim is off, only managing to kill a single foe. Jonas doesn't manage to hit a single shot with their boarding rifle, still groggy from the previous beatings. Sparky closes in on one of the remaining cultists, shoots them point blank with the fallen gunfighter's pistol, then draws them down as their fanged head tears out the cultist's throat. The last cultist launch themselves at Jonas with zealous fury, landing a shot with a rifle and beating Jonas so badly they've nearly fallen over. Again. Neither Simon or Jonas can hit it. Everyone is really tired at this point. Sparky, however, managed to hit with all 4 of their shots, and they finally make the cultists fall over. The team catches their breath and is acutely conscious of the fact they've depleted all their supplies and are reeling close to collapse. They recover the science log from the cultists as well as a sizable amount of gold bars and nuggets before heading out. There's still a narrow chance they can sneak past all the patrols and get safely home. The next room is a loading dock for the ship, and the huge door to the outside is stuck, grinding its gears and hissing atmosphere. The team put their backs into it and manage to brute force it shut to avoid the racket drawing unwanted attention in the future. One of the exits to the dock has been sealed shut by a bulkhead, and once again the team opted not to risk whatever has been closed off, and and simply carry on their way. However, at this point their dread starts to get the better of them and the darkness presses in. The sounds of gunfire can be heard up ahead, and they know at some point another gunfire is going to break out, and it will not be pleasant. The untold horrors of their situation aboard the ship take their toll, and each of them takes a severe blow to their emotional stability. As if summoned, the loading bay begins to fill with the stench of death and rot, causing the team to vomit and gag, further eroding their sanity, and they can be assured that the darkness will lend its aid to their next foes as they feel it smothering them all around. Jonas resorts to whiskey to keep the memories at bay. Before they can exit from the loading dock, from behind them a roving patrol of the Crimson Hand catches up with them, 4 dread Inquisitors. With their dark magics, the piles of their former comrade corpses are turned into immediate vectors for horrible plagues. Any of the team getting close to them will see their weapons start to rust away in front of their eyes, and at the same time an invisible plague whips around the room, causing temporary madness on the entire team. Simon is overcome with the urge to itch uncontrollably, Jonas joins the others in being open to the void, and Sparky finds himself suffering hallucinations of something calling their name in the dark. The Inquisitors themselves charge into combat with their man-catchers and sickles. Everyone takes a cut, and Jonas is once again hanging on by the barest of threads after one Inquisitor attacks, and the second puts them on the deck unconscious. Sparky fires their light gun into the face of one in front of them, but is relatively a minor wound. 2 shots from the fallen gunfighter's pistol also connect, but again the wounds are not serious and the Inquisitor remains standing. Simon lands 4 hits from the machine gun, but again this barely scratches the Inquisitor. This does not look like a fight the team can win. Stealth is no longer possible, as they've made too much noise with all these attacks, and the darkness has nearly escaped. So from their position on the floor, Jonas rouses themselves just enough to activate the transdimensional warp jump device, and by miraculous science the entire strike team is teleported across the void back to the camp in Tradera. The mission may have failed, but they do not suffer the horrible consequences of struggling back through the enemy lines. The team is still very badly shaken and physically damaged from the fight, and Jonas has picked up a broken collarbone from the Inquisitors' mauling. Falling down on arrival, the team looks up into the sky and witnesses the fallout aurora, a good sign for Traderans. Basking in its glow, many of the team's woes are erased. Sparky shrugs off their recently acquired hallucinatory voices, Simon heals to no longer be open to the void, and Jonas regenerates both their chest wound and their broken collarbone. Everyone heads to the campfire. Sparky finally removes their own open to the void contagion, and gains mental fortitude in the process from this final success. Simon also treats their itching compulsion, and Jonas removes their own open to the void affliction. For the first time in a long period, none of the team are suffering from any long-term injuries or madnesses. Sparky also hires another private floofies for their next fight, and Jonas hires a trench soldier called Wolfgang. Continuing their good luck, the next day sees a restock of the war depot and reduced prices therein. Simon takes advantage of this to sell off their excess gear and purchase a belt-fed ammo pack for the machine gun, as well as some shielding to mount on it. Jonas merely uses some darkstone to acquire advanced bullets for their next fight. Sparky tried to convince the surgeons to remove their second head, but the second head was having none of it and convinced the surgeons not to operate. And then a void burrower attacked the camp, forcing everyone to scatter and the team to head to their next mission. Which marks the end of our recap. Well, that was the first 10 episodes of this campaign. Next episode will be Mission 7, Wetworks, and we'll have an expanded roster. Hopefully you'll join us for that, and in another 10 sessions time, there'll be another recap.